Moje ime je Marko Banović i ja ću biti moderator prvog panela ovog vrlo bogatog programa na Cetinskom forumu. Panel s kojim startujemo nosi naziv Proces proširenja EU i geopolitika, promocije dokumenta Montenegro non-paper. Prije svega želim da predstavim naše današnje izvanredne paneliste. Vesnu Pusić, koju ste već vidjeli na bini, bivšu ministarku vanjskih i europskih poslova Republike Hrvatske, gospođu Ivetu Radiču, bivšu premijerku Republike Slovačke i ministarku odbrane te zemlje, i Peter Galbraith, ambasadora Sjedinjenih Američkih Država, bivšeg ambasadora Sjedinjenih Američkih Država u Hrvatskoj i pomoćnike generalnog sekretara Ujedinjenih nacija i senatora Savezne države Vermont. Dobrodošli na Cetinski forum i dobrodošli na Cetin. Tema o kojoj danas ćemo govoriti na prvom panelu vjerovatno će definisati budućnost Crne Gore, a i budućnost kompletnog regiona Zapadnog Balkana. To je proširenje Europske unije. Mislim da razgovaramo o ovoj temi u pravom trenutku, s obzirom da nedavno smo vidjeli posljednji izvještaj Europske komisije i za Crnu Goru, ali i za druge zemlje, i kako političke elite u Crnoj Gori vole da klasifikuju ovaj posljednji izvještaj. Ovo je najbolje ocijenjeni izvještaj Europske komisije u istoriji Crne Gore. Da li je to baš tako, to će biti jedna od tema ovog panela. Ćemo zagrebati ispod ovih političkih floskula i vidjeti šta nam to tačno poručuje Europska komisija. Također, poruke koje smo čuli iz Brisela ukazuju da volja za proširenjem je možda veća u Briselu nego kod pojedinih političkih aktera u Crnoj Gori, što je također vrlo interesantno. I cilj ovog panela je da prodiskutujemo šta to Crna Gora treba da uradi, šta druge zemlje regiona treba da urade da bi postale punopravne članice, koje su to ključne prepreke za članstvo u Europskoj uniji i kakve reperkusije može imati ulazak ili neulazak Crne Gore u EU. I ja bi se sa tim zaustavio jer ne želim da oduzimam vrijeme. Sigurno da ćemo mnogo bolje čuti šta se dešava u regionu od naših panelista. Startao bih sa vama, profesorko Pusić. U non-paperu je naglašeno da u crnogorskim vlastima imamo strukture koje su bliske Beogradu i Moskvi i koje nisu u liniji sa agendom Brisela. Može li Crna Gora vjerodostojno završiti pregovore sa Europskom unijom i postati punopravna članica sa takvom političkom strukturom? Da li postoji strah unutar Europske unije da Crna Gora sa takvim političkim strukturama može biti trojanski konj unutar Europske unije i raditi u interesu trećih strana?
Dobar dan, hvala lijepa na ovoj fenomenalnoj organizaciji. Kao neko ko je bio i na prethodnim cetinskim forumima, moram reći da sam jako impresionirana i čestitam organizatorima na ovakvom nevjerojatno elegantnom prostoru u kojem su organizirali ovu, pa za Crnu Goru ja mislim vrlo važnu raspravu, a vrlo važnu i za cijelu našu regiju, kroz to niti nevažnu za stabilnost u Europi. Jedna od rečenica koju ja često upotrebljavam nije naročito originalna, ali je zaista istina, a to je da je u politici trenutak, vrijeme je sve. Dakle, timing is everything. I jedna te ista stvar u jednom trenutku može biti vrlo štetna i kontraproduktivna, a takva ista stvar u drugom može biti korisna. U ovom trenutku, kao što ste vi rekli uvodno, je iz razloga, po mom mišljenju, pogrešnih, ali to nije važno, postoji u Europskoj uniji puno veća spremnost da primi i ubrza put Crne Gore prema članstvu u Europskoj uniji, nego što je postojala ikad dosad. Moje mišljenje je da je razlog za to jer se smatra da je Crna Gora dovoljno mala da neće učiniti prevelike valove, da tako kažem, naročito ne na budžet su i na proračune, financijski dio funkcioniranja Unije, a da će istovremeno demonstrirati da je politika proširenja živa. Istovremeno u vlasti Crne Gore imamo dvije grupacije, jedna koja se i zove Europa sad i jedna koju mnogi, uključujući mene, zovu Europa nikad. Dakle, jedan dio koalicije koji je prije nego što je ušao u koaliciju na vlasti bio direktno protiv Crne Gore u Europskoj uniji, pa i protiv samostalnosti neki od tih ljudi Crne Gore, a nakon što su ušli u vlast podržavaju put Crne Gore prema Europskoj uniji, nominalno i verbalno, međutim svaki put kad se Crna Gora približi nekom novom koraku, zapravo kreiraju neki incident koji tu mogućnost iskoraka i napredovanja osujeti. E sad, pitanje koje po mom mišljenju s kojim se treba suočiti i koje je jedno praktično političko pitanje je da li Crna Gora ima sad šansu da završi pregovore prije nego drugi i prije nego što se mislilo. Da li je bolje da Crna Gora završi pregovore iako nije u mnogim dimenzijama spremna za ulazak i onda se događaju dalji politički procesi, uključujući i izbori koji su na dnevnom redu 2027. I unutar tog europskog okvira se počne transformirati ili je bolje da ostane vani i čeka da se ta transformacija dogodi prije ulaska. Biće o tome različitih mišljenja i vjerojatno različitih stavova. Ja ću reći svoj stav. Moj stav je carpe diem, ugrabi trenutak. Dakle, ovo je trenutak u kojem se to čini mogućim. U Crnoj Gori postoje realno većinski snage politički koje su jednim dijelom u vlasti, jednim dijelom u opoziciji u ovom času, koje su zaista za europsku Crnu Goru, dakle za transformaciju Crne Gore u europsku državu, ne samo članicu, nego i u smislu demokracije, ljudskih prava i svega onog što se zove europske vrijednosti, zapravo su prosvjetiteljske, naravno, vrijednosti transformirane u današnje vrijeme. Te snage koje zaista jesu za ulazak i za europsku Crnu Goru se, po mom mišljenju, moraju okupiti zajednički za pobjedu na izborima 2027. Nema drugog načina. Čak da vi završite, što bi bilo fenomenalno, pregovore koncem sljedeće godine, a ajmo reći i 2027. što isto bi bilo fantastično brzo, između završetka pregovora i potpisivanja pristupnog ugovora je u grubo 6 mjeseci, barem tak nekad bilo. Ratifikacija pristupnog ugovora traje, u našem slučaju kad je to bilo relativno glatko, 1,5 do 2. Dakle, ima puno vremena između okončanja pregovora i faktičkog članstva. I u nekom ne idealnom, ali u nekom mogućem pozitivnom scenariju, ja bih rekla da je to najbolji scenarij za Crnu Goru, da iskoristi ovaj trenutak, da naravno vrši pritisak svi koji su za to da se reforme događaju i da se stvari mijenjaju kao što treba I naravno da pazi na poteškoće, jer poteškoća će biti mnogo, uključujući i ova koju sam spomenula na početku, a to je da je ogromna vjerojatnost da će jedan dio vlasti, ovisno o razvoju događaja u Srbiji, da će jedan dio vlasti pokušati opstruirati taj put. Dakle, opstruirati reforme, opstruirati okončanje pregovora iz razloga o kojima također mogu govoriti, ali neću u ovaj moment.
Pitanje, spomenuli ste upravo taj rok veliki između završetka pregovora i punopravnog članstva. Da li smatrate onda, s obzirom da nam je ostao veliki broj poglavlja, i da zatvorimo i tek onda da krenemo u ratifikaciju, da li je preambiciozan rok 2028-2029. godina koju često političari na vlasti u Crnoj Gori promovišu, po vašem mišljenju?
Ovisno o tome kad se završe pregovori, ali ja bih gledala na 2030. recimo kao neki okvirni optimistički, jako optimistički datum. Nemamo uopće misli da je to nešto, ali nije nerealno po mom mišljenju, za punopravno članstvo, dakle da se završi ratifikacija i sve, ako bi se završili pregovori ovako brzo kao u ovom izvještaju što piše.
Hvala. Professor Radičeva, question for you. You're also one of the co-signers of the non-paper. And in the paper it's mentioned that the importance of Copenhagen criteria and the importance of avoiding Orban's approach. Could you elaborate on that a little bit? What does that mean? What is one and how it differs, the Copenhagen criteria from the Orban's approach?
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me say thank you very, very much for the two organizers that I am invited to this forum and have a chance to be a bit useful for side and for democratization procedures in Europe. It's a pleasure for me. Thank you very much. First of all, if you do not mind, yeah, I have to start with the major question. Why and for what? We would like to be the part of something which is bigger. Today's answer in 21st century is facing the synergy of deep crisis starting on September 2000, continued by terrorism, later migration wave, later deep financial crisis, world financial crisis, continued by pandemic, energy crisis, war in Ukraine, war in Gaza, and in between the war in former Yugoslavia, before, as a predecessor, and unsolved results of this complex of uncertainties. The only answer is certainty and security. And the only answer is collective security and collective solutions. No one state alone from EU is capable to answer such challenges. So the answer is really easy. Collective security principle and collective solution of synergy of crisis. Second thing, what does it mean to have this discussion, really? It's not short-term decision for one election period. It's state legal decision. It means long-term decision. Therefore, the cross-political, system agreement has to be done. It's precondition. So not only governmental parties, coalition, opposition, changes, etc., but cross. Negotiation may be with the support and help of mediator from outside, which is not involved in inside conflicts, is the way how to solve this condition. So it's a long-term plan. Montenegro is a young state. And doesn't matter if it's small or big. Look, Luxembourg is a small state, but it's the most wealthy state in the world. So it doesn't matter if we are small or not. What matters is how we manage two dimensions of existence of each state and citizen. One is efficiency. I am talking on socio-economic conditions, and another connected is human rights approach. Europe is based on these two dimensions, so you know it. Efficiency meant single market with free movement around EU, which is supportive to further development. Each state, member state, has done jump in their quality of life. There is no doubt. As an average, EU member states are at the 25th place concerning GDP per capita. We are all European countries, member states of EU, are the most wealthy countries in the world. This is reality. I am from the country we have been in the cluster of the less developed countries. And where we are now? We are on 45th place in the world. Jump. Progress. So this synergy of economic powers and economic standards are visible very quickly in each country. Human rights approach. Maybe here are the major discussions. Cultural, ethical questions, and I am now returning to Orban. What does it mean, human rights for EU? Values like human dignity, human rights in social economic sphere, but also in civic, political, and cultural sphere. To guarantee these rights meant really change many laws also in Montenegro. I know what I am talking. When in Slovakia we have to be prepared for acquis communautaire, all forces around the country put their energy, knowledge for preparation, from academic sphere, from political sphere, from NGO sphere, everybody. Without the actions and support, you will have real troubles to be successful. Therefore, once more, mediator who put elites together to prepare Montenegro for this not easy task at all. I was responsible for social justice. 24 different clusters of social rights. Hard work. If I say that we were really working day and nights for months, it's true. But last but not least, without, and this is the third point, civic participation, you'll be not successful. the will of the people. So how to promote such a change? Because it's true that part of your sovereignty you will postpone to EU. Are people really prepared? So if Professor was mentioned that there is Europe now or Europe never, I think that the root of this struggle is to whom we will leave part of our sovereignty. And Prime Minister Orban's position is we will not respect this part of agreement. But without this part of agreement, we cannot act together. If we would like to have single market, if we would have to like to guarantee human rights to each citizen, we have to have common regulative background. So to dance in between, you know what does it mean? That you have no partner at all. If you would like one day to dance with Putin and another to be the partner of EU, nobody will really trust you. Because what we can offer to common project, that we are trustful partner. That's it. That we are prepared to do really compromises and good decisions for the future. Let me, to conclude, please try to have active civic society. Second, try to moderate and negotiate and cooperation of all your elite in the country. Third, try to construct and find a mediator among different political parties. And last but not least, try to explain what does it mean to be the member state of EU. Not through institutions, not through technical approaches, but through the real everyday life. What does it mean concretely? And briefly, the story of Slovakia. As maybe majority of you knows, in 90s, after independence, we were the black hole of Europe. Yes, lost. Autocracy, and at the end, default, economic default of the country in 1998. I am proud I was the Minister of Labor, Social Affairs and Family in second Dzurinda's government doing the deep reforms which restart Slovakia such that we received the label Tiger of Europe. Montenegro can be the tiger of Europe. You have potential. If you start with deep reforms, if you fulfill few recommendations I tried to mention, and last but not least, if you put together political forces with the aim for better future for the children who sang this song for us at the beginning, because we are doing this for them, not for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. Ambassador Gilred, this year marks 30 years since the Dayton Peace Agreement. You had a quite significant role in building peace in that time, but my question is now, when you look back, what proved most effective during that process? And do you see some similarities with the issues we had back then coming back again today?
So it is 30 years. Actually, it's 30 years and 2 days since the first of the peace agreements that finally brought the wars in the former Yugoslavia to an end. And that was the Erdut Agreement, which provided for the peaceful reintegration of eastern Slavonia into Croatia. This was an agreement that I mediated, actually also wrote, and signed 2 times. Why 2 times? Because even though it was a peace agreement, the Serbs in eastern Slavonia would not meet face-to-face with the Croatian government to sign the agreement. And yet, after 2 years, there was a 2-year transitional period under UN administration, this became the one place in the former Yugoslavia where the people losing control, the Serbs, remained. And why did they remain? Partly it was at the beginning with the Tudjman government. You know, after Operation Storm, he referred to the Serbs as optanci. They had opted out. But both because of the pressure of human rights and civic society, people like Vesna here, and also the attraction of joining Europe. Croatia made many reforms, including basically adopting a very democratic approach, saying if you had been a citizen of the Croatian Socialist Republic in Yugoslavia, you were a citizen of Croatia. And so people could stay, people who had fled could return, they could recover their property. Many chose not to. But it was about the nature of the country. And that was both, again, internal factors and the attraction of the European Union, of European values. So this is a very important point. And of course, Dayton, which I also participated in a much smaller way, accomplished, there are many reasons to criticize Dayton, but the main reason to applaud it is what Izetbegovic said in Dayton when he initialed the agreement, which is that it's an unjust agreement, but it is better than the alternative. And as you think about what is going to be required for Bosnia, lasting peace in Bosnia, and there's some applicability to Montenegro, which is also a divided society. Think of Ireland. There you had a conflict that went back to the beginning of the 20th century. And what made the end of the Irish conflict possible with the Good Friday Agreement in 1998? It was very simple. It was both parties, United Kingdom, Northern Ireland, and the Republic, were part of the European Union. At the end of the day, it didn't, and it still doesn't, notwithstanding Brexit. It really doesn't matter whether you're a citizen of the Republic or you're a citizen of Northern Ireland. You have free movement, common currency, all that sort of thing. So that really is the attraction of the European Union. And I think it's a formula that can, as it did in Croatia, the attraction can promote human rights. And it is something for Bosnia. Now, whether in the case of Bosnia, my view would be it might be better to bring them in in the hopes that that would then lead to the kind of reforms, because I don't see that the conditionality is that they're going to be able to meet the conditionality. Although maybe if when Montenegro and Serbia come in, they're surrounded by the European Union, and that might produce the kind of result that we would like to see.
Do you think that this attraction towards the EU is stronger than some authoritarian nature of certain leaders in the region, and of course authoritarian values that is imposed by third parties such as Russia.
And what? It will be.
You know, we're in a very unusual time, and we can talk about Orban, talk about authoritarian leaders. I'll tell you something, and Vesna will remember this. When I was the first United States ambassador to a country that emerged from communism. So part of what I did was to give talks about democracy. Things like having an independent, nonpartisan judiciary, not using the judicial process to go after your political enemies, accepting the results of elections, not trying to dismantle the free media using the regulatory process. Vesna will remember that when Tudjman tried to take away the license of Radio 101, I went on Radio 101. It annoyed him. He denounced me as a tractor diplomat. But how could I'd be embarrassed to make that speech today, to talk about those things coming from the United States. This is really a time for those who represent European values, not to look to the outside world, but to look internally at Europe. You know, in the 1990s, this was the extraordinary American moment. Europe tried to deal with the crisis in the former Yugoslavia, and James Baker, the American Secretary of State for Bush Sr., said, yes, it's Europe. The Europeans said it's a year of Europe. And then it was the troika of, Portugal, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. And that, needless to say, did not intimidate Milosevic or anybody. And ultimately, and very reluctantly, because Bill Clinton also didn't want to get involved in Balkans, the United States did get involved. But that was a moment that Russia was way down, and incidentally, not only way down, its economy was smaller than that of the Netherlands. It was also an ally. The Russian ambassador was my partner, much more than, say, David Owen, the former British foreign minister, in making the whole process in Croatia a success. And China had not yet risen. And the United States had a different character than what it has today. So for all those reasons, Europe is much stronger. It is time for Europe to represent liberal democratic values in the world, and particularly to use that attraction in places like Montenegro and Bosnia, and not just there.
Profesor Pusić, u non-paperu se spominje i članstvo Crne Gore kao pozitivna stvar za kompletan region. Koje su to pozitivne stvari koje bi članstvo Crne Gore donijelo kompletnom regionu, a posebno u svom prvom obraćanju ste spomenuli i Srbiju? Da li bi članstvo Crne Gore u EU uticalo na režim Aleksandra Vučića i da li bi osnažilo prodemokratske strane u toj zemlji ili bi samo osnažilo anti-europske i proruske stavove unutar brojnih takvih struktura u Srbiji?
Prvo, kad je Srbija počela pregovore o članstvu u Europskoj uniji 2014. ja sam bila dvoje ministara koji su došli sjediti na tom sastanku da bi podržali to. Tamo je bio današnji predsjednik, tada mislim premijer Vučić. Podrška u Srbiji članstvu Europskoj uniji bila je negdje oko 60%, dakle 60 i 70%. Danas je 30, dakle između 30 i 40, tako smo jako optimistični. To nije zato što su ljudi prije bili za europske vrijednosti, a sad su protiv, nego je zato što se tih od 2014. do danas, dakle tih više od 10 godina, se iskoristilo za snažnu antievropsku medijsku i političku kampanju u Srbiji, koja je istovremeno sa nekim pogrešnim potezima od strane Europske unije, kao što je, na primjer, odnos prema Sjevernoj Makedoniji nakon što je promijenila ime, a nije napredovala u svom članstvu u Uniji, su stvorili atmosferu u društvima država Zapadnog Balkana, takozvanog, da to naprosto nije moguće. Ljudi ovdje ne trebaju uvjeravanje da oni trebaju ići u Europsku uniju. Ljudi hoće ići u Europsku uniju, ali kroz svo ovo vrijeme su stekli dojam da to nije realno, da se to neće dogoditi iz niza razloga i da prema tome nema smisla na tome ustrajati. S druge strane, projekt učlanjenja u Europsku uniju ne može biti uspješan bez pritiska odozdo, bez pritiska društva. Političke elite su manje sklone tome nego građani. Naročito ako među političkim elitama ima onih koji su se dosta obogatili dok su bili na vlasti, pa imaju neke primjere, kao na primjer bivši hrvatski premijer Sanader, koji od našeg članstva, a koji je odigrao vrlo, vrlo pozitivnu ulogu u približavanju Hrvatske Europskoj uniji. Apsolutno, ja sam s njim odlično surađivala, ali je, nažalost, istovremeno bio uključen u visoku korupciju, što bi se reklo, i proveo je 10 godina od našeg ulaska u zatvoru. To svi ovi ljudi gledaju. I prema tome, bez snažnog pritiska društva da se uđe, drugim riječima, bez toga da nema puno glasova na strani protiv ulaska Europske unije, bez toga taj projekt neće uspjeti. Problem dodatni sa Crnom Gorom, mi svi dijelimo naše iskustva, poteškoće, koliko je to posla, to je sve istina i sve važi i za Crnu Goru. Međutim, poteškoća dodatna koju niko od nas nije imao je da dio političke elite u Crnoj Gori, pozicija, opozicija, ne govorim sad specifično o tome, ali dio političke elite je protiv postojanja Crne Gore kao samostalne suverene države. Taj problem niko od nas nije imao. I s tim problemom se moramo tu suočiti. I zato je članstvo u Europskoj uniji ekstremno važnije, jer je puno teže da prestane postojati kao samostalna suverena država jedna članica Europske unije, nego neko ko možda je, možda nije. I gdje sama vlastita elita zapravo nije homogena u tom stavu da država kao samostalna suverena država, a ne vazalska ili priključena, počne funkcionirati. Da se vratim na vaše pitanje zašto je, po mom mišljenju, vrlo, vrlo važno ne samo za Crnu Goru, nego za regiju i naročito za Srbiju, da Crna Gora uđe. Originalno svi su uvijek mislili i evropske institucije su se tako ponašale, da je važno da uđe Srbija koja je najveća i potencijalno najopasnija kao destabilizator u regiji, a onda će svi ostali slijediti. I tu je bilo logike, apsolutno ima logike u tome. Međutim, to je bilo u vrijeme kad je podrška u Srbiji bila 60 i više %. Danas Srbija naprosto nije realno da uđe u situaciju u kojoj su ljudi kontinuirano na cesti, u demonstracijama i s druge strane ne vjeruju u mogućnost ili ne vjeruju više većinski u mogućnost da je to moguće. I danas poanta nije uvjeriti političke elite, nego uvjeriti društva. A da bi se društvo, uključujući društvo u Srbiji, uvjerilo da je moguće ući u Europsku uniju iz pozicije zemlje Zapadnog Balkana, je to potrebno pokazati. I Crna Gora je zapravo ta pokazna vježba, da tako kažem. Dakle, ja sam uvijek tvrdila da je jedini način, a mislim da Srbija apsolutno treba ući u Europsku uniju, da je jedini način da ju se okruži uspjehom. I ovo je jedan način da se Srbiju okružuje uspjehom koji onda mijenja i stav društva u Srbiji. Hvala.
Hvala, Profesor Radičova. Do you think these initiatives which we heard recently about Montenegro entering the EU on a probation period and without voting rights is due to the distrust of the EU towards the Montenegrin political elite willingness to impose the reform you mentioned, the human rights, the foreign policy aligned with the EU? Is that the fear within the EU and the reason why we hear about these initiatives?
Positive sentences I already have used. So now another side of the same coin. EU is facing also the crisis of trust, it's no doubt. EU is facing the crisis of finding the compromises, and plus there is real inside problem with increase of populistocracy and autocratic regimes. At present, out of 206 political parties inside European Parliament, 27% are autocratic, extremist political parties. That's why there are new fractions, that's why there are new attempts how to negotiate and they compete for more competencies for European Parliament, therefore, for new fractions. So situation is changed. There is no time now to analyze why this have happened. Only brief answer: if democratic regimes are not giving adequate and quick response to the crisis we are facing, then populist politics and autocracies are real alternative, because they offer promise with easy solution and quick solution. These have happened in history several times, and now it's on us if we are prepared really to recover the trust. And recovery of the trust is harder than to start from the point of zero. Concerning the relation of EU and Montenegro, we have to talk what institution of EU. And first of all, there is European Council. Okay, be active in diplomacy, in bilateral discussions with the governments and prime ministers who are ready to support you. Then there are prime ministers who at home are open critics of EU. I have such prime minister. And at Brussels always vote for common decision. Two faces. I think you have very similar prime minister at this moment. Lessons learned are, what is the price for these two faces politics? And the price is that you are not adequate partner for the discussion for different levels and institutions of EU. That there is a distance and small steps or very formal steps for negotiation. Look, they can be very active, helpful from the side of EU on one side, but also only to formulate very formal phrases that everything is okay, you are doing well, but you know very well that it's not the truth. And then there is this gap of expectations. So what I see is try to concentrate on bilateral discussions with democratic politicians, help them to have more trust at home. They will help you to have more trust at home, and all together they can, through the European Council, define the strategy how to improve the behavior and action of EU as a whole. Last sentence, really. What we are doing is, from while to while, unbelievable for me. The most wealthy union in the world and behave like the slave. Why? Why? Why such strong criticism towards ourselves? We are somewhere. Yes, democratic countries are in minority in the world. That's truth. We are facing the trend of decreasing of the number of democracies around the world. But doesn't mean that our citizens are not prepared to live as free citizens, because only freedom is the guarantee of human dignity. So we have duty to guarantee freedom to our citizens, and we have duty to keep EU as a guarantee of liberal democratic values. This is the message. And we are not weak, we are strong enough to do it, I'm sure.
Thank you. We came close to the end of our panel, and one last question for you, Ambassador. This is something that a lot of people in the Western Balkans are asking. What is the focus of the current US administration when it comes to the region? What is your read on the priorities of the administration for the Western Balkans?
Well, first, because we have a colleague here from the American Embassy in Podgorica, I want to make clear that I do not speak for the current administration, and you might have detected from my previous comments that I am not an admirer of the current administration.
This is not the bad news.
No, I mean, I'll be blunt. I mean, I believe that American democracy is under severe threat. It turns out that American institutions.
I mean it in this sense.
We always say we're a country of laws, not men, but we have a criminal. He's actually a convicted felon. And it turns out that American institutions are weak. The Congress does nothing. The courts have become partisan. The universities are weak. The law firms surrendered. The media is, changed its positions. So a lot of things from the authoritarian playbook are actually applying in the United States. And that's why I say you have to look to Europe. In terms of what the Trump administration might do, I guess I might be a little hopeful that engaging between Serbia and Kosovo would be something that could be accomplished, and I think that would be a very positive thing if in fact they go that direction. I'm more than slightly troubled by the direct financial involvement here, the level of corruption, including the family members with business interests in Belgrade. And then there's the larger question of the future of the NATO alliance. Donald Trump does not believe in NATO. And so there's a real question, if push came to shove, would Article 5 actually apply? And then even more fundamental is and this isn't so relevant to the Western, well, no, it is relevant to the Western Balkans, actually, because it certainly affects Bosnia. At various times, the Vice President and others have talked about a peace agreement for Ukraine that would involve Ukraine surrendering territory to Russia. Now, the fundamental principle that has made the period since 1945 among the most peaceful in human history is that the post-1945 world eliminated what had been the cause of war for more than 1,000 years, which is one tribal chief, one prince, one country, trying to seize the territory of another country and annex it. As a Czechoslovakia, a case in point. And what happened in 45 was basically once you became a member of the United Nations, once your territory was internationally recognized, the ability to invade and annex went away. There were wars, there were territorial disputes, but it turned out pretty badly for Saddam Hussein we took Kuwait in 1990. It turned out rather badly for Slobodan Milosevic and his project of Greater Serbia. But if that principle changes, then that opens a can of worms that certainly affects the Western Balkans. And incidentally, if Milosevic gets away with, if Putin gets away with seizing, Milosevic, Putin, sorry, Freudian slip. But if Putin gets away with, and the U.S. accepts that he can seize Ukrainian territory, annex it, that's part of a peace deal, what else is going to happen? Yeah. Will the United States actually itself attack a NATO ally, Denmark, and seize Greenland? I'll leave one last thing, which is during the time I was ambassador, we spent hundreds of millions of dollars or more on various intelligence operations. You know, we would intercept people's telephone calls in the Balkans. We would have spies in the minister's office, you know, usual things that intelligence agencies do. I'm not giving away any specific secret here. But what did we want to get? What we wanted to learn was what is it that these Balkan leaders were going to do? And you know what the best predictor of what they were going to do? It was none of that intelligence. It's what they said they were going to do. So, yeah, I hope they do something good on Kosovo, and I'm deeply worried about everything else.
Yeah. Thank you, Ambassador. I'm sorry ending the panel on such a pessimistic note, but I think it was a great conversation, great debate. We heard so many interesting and important points, and I would like to thank you again for participating. This concludes the first panel, and thank you again.